Hey there. So, how many of you have been betrayed? And how many of you have been told a mistruth or been deceived by a large organization, specifically even a religious organization? So, if either of those fit you, then welcome. You will probably be interested in hearing this little message I have, which is all around betrayal and identity. You see, betrayal is due to the identities that we create for ourselves. There are many identities that you may relate to, right? You can be part of a group, part of a religious organization, um, your work group, your lifestyle. You may be a rocker chick or an artist. There's all kinds of identities. The mom club, the single club, the non-mom club, the dad club, you get it, right? So we have all of these identities that we create, and this is how we operate in the world. And what goes hand in hand with identity is deception. There's always going to be this construct of creating an identity that's not 100% true, whether you want it to be or not. You want to look a certain way, yet you're not really that way. It's like people talk about imposter syndrome and how it's like just fake it till you make it kind of things. We're creating these identities of what we want to become, and we're telling little lies to impress upon the brain and our mindset that we do deserve this type of life, right? So it's pervasive. It's how we work in this planet. Yet here's the interesting part of it all, and I guess this is the rub. There is no identity in the spirit realms, meaning the divine source has no identity. In order to be with divine source, you need to release identity. And so when we go through a process of being betrayed or having been duped by an organization, the walls start to crumble and we start to see the truth for what it is. We have our awakening and we start to see the truth, and certain things start to happen for us. We quit judging those that we used to judge within that confine of that construct of that identity. So, why am I bringing this all up? First part is I had my, as you know, I've mentioned this. I was brought up Mormon. I left the church when I was in my 20s. So it's been a long time since I've been around. My father is still practicing. And conversations with him can be frustrating because he truly believes there is a hell, a devil, and that there's only certain keys and tokens that get him into being with divine source. And he's fearful. He's afraid of this God. And I would be too, honestly, if I believed that. But I know that not to be true. I know God is all loving. And so for me to have those conversations with them are really hard because I see the struggle. And do I see the deception being played out by this organization, by the Mormon faith? Yes, I do. But I could scream and holler and nobody would hear me because those walls are up. The identity has been created. And I get it because when we create an identity that gives us safety, so for example, being within the Mormon church or Catholic church, whatever religious organization, you get community, you get connection with others, and you're all striving for personal growth and development. So those are good things. And so when things start to crumble, or when you start to catch wind of, yeah, did you know there really were no golden plates? Or did you know that there's no evidence, archaeological evidence, that there were any kind of native civilizations that were talked about in the Book of Mormon here on the continent? You start to go, do I choose to ignore that and ignore the crumbling wall? Or do I decide to pick at it and see what's really going on? So it's a choice. Do I pick on the walls that I've created for this identity? I feel safe in. Or do I allow everything to crumble? And then where do I go? Oh my God, I'm afraid, because that's what we see. It's like everything crumbles and then our world is over and we've been ruined. It also happens with marriages, with relationships. You know, we are very safe in a relationship. We don't, it's like, no, my husband didn't look at her for an extended amount of time. No, I didn't see that. No, no, he's fine. No, he's not gay. I mean, there's all of these things that we kind of put the blinders to. We don't want to lose the security of being in a safe relationship, in a marriage, where we can look at our single friends and go, "Ha, I'm so glad I'm not single," right? So there's these judgments that happen when we're in these identities that we created. So when the betrayal occurs, there's some signs, there's some things that happen to us, and I've written them down. So let me quickly make sure I'm looking at my notes so that I don't um, forget any of them. So one of the things that we immediately do when we discover we've been betrayed, whether it's through an organization or somebody took our money and betrayed us and conned us out of something that we cared about, or somebody just lied to us within a relationship that we had a commitment to, we will become the victim. That's one of the first signs. You become a victim. You start blaming the other person because how dare they? They do that to you. The thing is, you don't see that you've created an identity yet around it. And so it's still cracking the egg, so to speak, within what you've created. So we play the victim, we place blame, we get angry, we feel betrayed, and we feel really hurt. And that can last a year, 2 years, 3 years, who knows? It can last a long time. Everybody's different when they go through this process. But here's the second phase of that, because as you're being freed from this construct, this identity that you've created for yourself, soon all your judgments are released. Kind of like, oh boy, you see all your married friends, once you go through divorce, take off. Only the true friends stick around. You're like, oh, I will never judge or when they're having problems in their marriage or going through divorce. Things just start to occur for you when you leave an organization, like a religious organization. It's kind of like, oh, wow, all these other religions, they all teach good things. Everybody's just trying to be good. No judgment. So everything gets dropped, which is really nice. So all of your judgments start getting released. And this is when the divine flow starts opening up, because you have created this identity that literally blocks the flow from any kind of abundance or joy to be truly happening for you. So, for example, the Mormon identity for me was all wrapped around community. And when I realized, like, oh my gosh, this is just a big hoax, they've been lying, um, I didn't want to leave. It took me a few years before I finally made the leap, because I was so attached to the community. I had my friends. We always did things together. It was so much fun. So this whole idea, though, what occurred for me is then I was opened up and no longer judged anybody for their beliefs. I just don't. Everybody's entitled to believe certain things. It's when you wake up to some truths of being betrayed that's when you're the most sensitive and the most hurt. So if you're going through the process, my heart goes out to you. I understand. I really do. It just takes time. And the other side is actually really quite nice. So what occurs after you're freed from this identity that you've created for yourself? For me, when I lost my company, I was actually deceived into signing a contract that I shouldn't have signed. I ignored my intuition and signed a contract. Shouldn't have done it, lost my entire business. But what really happened, and what was supposed to happen, but what was so painful, I just was literally, I melted on the floor. It's like I was no more. I lost my identity. I was so attached to being the chief stylist of Wardrobe 911, company that I created, that nothing else mattered. That was me. And I laugh now because it's like, oh my God, but I was really wrapped tightly around that identity. And then when everything left, when it was destroyed, I didn't even know who I was. That's why we go through identity crisis, because we're like, holy crap, everything that I thought I was, I'm not. So the walls start tumbling down. And it's like pretty soon you just have a bunch of rubble and you're like, crap, do I want to rebuild it? Or do I want to just go, time to move on? Time to move on. Time to really recognize the freedom that's out there for you, the joy you're able to create more easily. When you release these identities, you're able to work with spirit and the universe so much more easily and better. So breaking free, really key, difficult part for many people. It can take years. Then once you've gone through it, recognize like, okay, I've just released an identity. Some things that can really occur. One of the things, you can't be with divine love if you identify with one of your identities too strongly. It's like a tongue twister. It's you I have worked for 20 years and the whole premise of my work is around creating authentic presence. So in and of itself, it's kind of like, well, aren't you really creating an identity? Mm, it's really getting to who you are inside. It's really understanding what your soul is, what your purpose is. And when you understand that, then you understand who you are truly, and then bringing that out into the world, that message, it's much easier. So, yeah, am I still attached to identity? We all are. We always will be. But if we can release a lot of the identities that we have here, from being the hot mom, for example, if we can release some of those identities, we'll be better off when we transition. Because when we transition, you'll still be attached to things. You'll still be attached to all the identities. So if you ever wondered why there's ghosts, it's they are so tightly wrapped up in their identities, they haven't released them. And if you don't release them, you can't be with Source because Source, none, no ID whatsoever, zero. So there's no hall pass to get into the kingdoms of heaven. There's no hall pass because that's an identity, that's a construct. You have to release the hall pass in order to get in. So here's some tips to help to it's about releasing these shadows, these sides of us, because what happens is that when we attach to a certain identity, it's almost always done in secret. We almost always like, I don't want people to see me as an addict. I use painkillers a lot, or I drink alcohol a lot. I don't want people to see that I'm an alcoholic. And so we have this identity that we've created and we want to hide and not be it. And when we shine a light to this identity of what we've created for ourselves, whether it's someone who's addicted to painkillers or alcohol or whatever it might be, then it's like once you are transparent and open about it, it's like nothing can hide. It's like, oh, that's really why AA does well, is because it's like, yeah, this is me. But if you're not moving past that identity, I'm a former alcoholic, I'll always be an alcoholic, then I feel like you're holding yourself back and you're not releasing yourself to true freedom. So once we cast our light on those shadows, then literally we release the ties that have created that identity completely. So that's the message. What do you get out of it? It's like, what is the big lesson? Why are we here on this planet if we are supposed to release these identities and we create them? I'm confused. It's to experience all of these identities. Really, truly, we get to experience all the dark and the light, from addiction to um, all the deeper despairs and sadness and all the crevices in between, right? That's the one interesting aspect. But the lesson, the goal is to release the identity, break down the walls, let go. Once you let go of attachment to certain identities, you will see abundance start flowing towards you. And that's the true message. And I wish for you to see for yourself who you truly are, that you are limitless and there are no bounds, no boundaries to who you truly are. So break down those walls, and I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.